lost a few friends to suicide. I kind of lived in my brother's shadow as I was growing up.
One of my biggest fears is just being comfortable. And at the end of the day, you're not doing anything when you're comfortable, you're just being. So look, man, I'm going to cycle around Australia. And he said, yeah, I'm in. People say, oh, 285k on average a day, 50 days, that's so long, it's so far. But if you break that down, can you pedal a bike? Can you turn the crank once? Yes.
Today on the show, we speak to Ben and Jay, who are currently cycling around Australia. Yes, that is 14,251 kilometres. Crazy, right? You're probably thinking, why the hell would someone want to do that? I thought the same thing. And the funny thing is, when they first came up with the idea, they didn't even own bikes. Their purpose? To crush the stigma surrounding mental health, raise awareness, spark the conversation, all whilst raising money towards mental health charity, Mindful Aus. Throughout this episode, you're going to see how ambitious, how passionate they are about this cause. It just goes to show that no matter who you are, you can achieve anything you put your mind to. You do not have to be a professional athlete to go and cycle around Australia. Honestly, if you're someone that is determined and you want to achieve something in life and do it for a good cause, you can do anything. But before we jump into today's episode, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. $5 from every Better Project merchandise purchase is going to be going towards the boys and their charity, Mindful Aus. Head over to the website www.thebetterproject.com to get yours today. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. Welcome to The Better Project, the podcast helping you build mental fitness. My name is Nick Patar, and my mission is to crush the stigma surrounding mental health. Each week, we bring you an inspiring person or message which will help you unlock your inner truth to live a life of harmony within mind, body, and spirit. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Let's dive in. Ben, Jay, legends, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me to the office, even though you gave me the wrong directions, but we got here in the end.
Didn't think we were going to put that on the audio, but cut that out maybe.
So you're not in the conversation today, it's just going to be Jay.
Hello.
But legends, I like to start my podcast with some gratitude. What are 3 things that you're grateful for today? We'll start with you, Ben.
My folks arrived last night, and I haven't seen them in nearly 4 years, so I'm grateful that they're here.
2 more?
Oh, I'll do 3 off the bounce. I'm grateful that I've got a dog that I love to bits, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do something like this and to reach as many people as we possibly can. That's what I'm gratitude for.
What about you, Jay?
I'm grateful to be healthy right now, speaking. Grateful to have a very supportive girlfriend and family, and also grateful to be doing this adventure with young Ben here, going around Australia. It's going to be a life-changing challenge, and we're less than a week away. So
yeah.
Crazy, eh? When did you set out on this endeavour to fucking cycle around Australia?
So we can swear then.
Yeah, you can swear.
Set the standard. So we set out about it officially April the 19th of 2021 was the official start date of when we set Boomerang Loop up and made it public. The initial conversations began in January of that same year. And that's when I mentioned to Jay that this is something that I was going to do or we were going to do. He jumped on board straight away. And from that point, we said about it, had a look into it, talked about it. And as I say, April 19th of 2021 was the date that we posted our first post on Instagram, and Boomerang Loop became an official thing. I believe it was that. Did we have a name for it by that point? Or
Yeah. Boomerang Loop. But we had no bikes.
Yeah.
So
we had a name but no bikes.
You set out to do this cycle without any equipment or any bikes. Like, why?
Yeah, man. We had no equipment. We had no bikes. We had no clue. But because at one point, I mean, look, let's take it back to December of 2020. I personally had finished. I'd accomplished a few things that I wanted to accomplish personally in sort of powerlifting and the weightlifting programs that I was doing, and that had taken up quite a long period of my life. And coming back into the gym in January, of 2021, I was kind of lost, and you're sort of meandering around the gym. You're going and you're doing whatever you want, and I didn't really have a goal or direction. And during that time was COVID, and COVID was coming into play, or was in play quite heavily. And I'd spent a lot of my time listening to podcasts about different people and different things, and getting inspired by different things. But one that stood out to me was the podcast from Dean Stott, who cycled the Pan American Highway. And from that, listening to that, I looked into, okay, what's the biggest thing that I can do? Me personally, I'm only going to do something if it's worth doing. If it's big enough I don't want to half-ass something in terms of it's not worth it. So looking into this, cycling around Australia, what was the biggest thing I could do? And that was literally it. At the time, we couldn't go far, and COVID was looking like we were going to be stuck in the country for the foreseeable future, which turned out to be true. And it turns out that cycling around Australia is pretty big. So
you didn't think that?
Well, but yeah, look, I had a look more in depth into it, and had a look at the like if it was possible, always the roads there and stuff like that, and found out that you could, found out, different items and things and people who've done it before. So I went into Jay and said, I was in a gym, and I said to Jay, whilst he was on a bike at the time, I said, look, man, I'm going to cycle around Australia. And he said, yeah, I'm in. And I was like, okay, well, this is a thing. So yeah.
So you caught him at the wrong time when he was just out of it, and he's like, yep, I'm jumping on board.
Just agreed to it, and by the time I told a lot of people, and I couldn't get out of it. So
what the fuck did I get myself into?
No, I mean, for years I've been inspired by many people that have done endurance events. I've watched them on TV, and went to events and kind of watched people do runs and cycles and swims and stuff like that. So I've always been inspired by that. But yeah, kind of around that time, I lost a few friends to suicide. And I've had my own kind of mental health battles over the years. And then this kind of opportunity came up where I was like, I can kind of tick both boxes, personal challenge from those people who have kind of inspired me, and to also hopefully make a positive difference as well within the mental health space, which we both share that passion for. So that's kind of the whole goal of the whole Boomerang Loop, a personal challenge that has evolved into trying to remove the stigma around mental health. So
on the stigma, like you mentioned, you lost friends to suicide. What was your personal connection? Like, what happened to you? What was your own personal demons that you've had to deal with?
So I mean, the connection between me and the friends that sadly took their own lives is we all worked within the entertainment kind of industry. My full-time job is construction, but part-time I've always been around music, and kind of TV and photography and videography, stuff like that. And then that kind of build up and frustration within the industry, the things that go on in the industry as well, that kind of build it up, and then they sadly took their own lives. So that's a connection with them. My own mental health battles is going back to things that have happened in my upbringing, things that have happened around me, where I've lost kind of friends through many different things, car accidents, cancer, whatever it may be over the years. And that's kind of made me go a bit up and down with the roller coaster of mental health, which probably yourself and people listening to this can realize, can kind of relate to, where you have your good days and your bad days. And I've been like that since as long as I can remember, to be honest.
Correct me if I'm wrong, like growing up, you were like the only kind of black kid in a white community. And was that a result of bullying and abuse? Because back then there would have been a lot of racism. Did that affect you mentally growing up?
So I've got an older brother. He's a lot older than me. He's 14 years older than me. So I'm definitely the mistake.
There's always one mistake.
He got pulled from Birmingham. So that's where my family were originally living. And then he got moved down south to a place called Corby, Northampton. And that was kind of that is a very, very white area. So my brother got most of the stick when he first arrived. And then I kind of lived in my brother's shadow as I was growing up. And that was kind of my way of dealing with things, was like, the fighting as a kid and just, being stupid. But lucky enough, I had a good kind of friendship group that all stuck up for me and stuff. But just general, racism and stuff like that growing up. But I kind of learned to deal with it.
Mm. How did you best deal with it growing up? And you said, in your brother's shadow, like, was there any techniques or anything that you implemented growing up, or
Karate.
karate? Yeah.
No, to be honest, my parents kind of gave me the advice to kind of be better than that. The violence isn't going to be the option. So then I ended up kind of having my good witty comebacks, and just realizing, the kind of racism is because they may not be educated and understand the reasons why somebody's different. And then gradually growing up, like, that's kind of just evolved to not really bothering, not really being so worried about skin color and racism in general and discrimination.
Yeah, the world has definitely evolved, and I feel like it's gotten better when it comes to racism. But yeah, definitely right when it comes to education. Like, those kids bullying you, they don't know anything different. They just hear what their parents say and then they copy them.
Yeah.
So it's hard when you're a kid because, like, you take it personally, but really you can't, because they don't know any different. They're just doing the best with what they know.
Yeah, and of course, as I matured, I realised, that's just it's naivety as you're younger and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just it's the way it is, really.
Ben, what was your upbringing like, bro? Did you play rugby growing up?
Oh, we both played a bit of rugby.
You both played rugby?
Yeah,
okay, I thought you were
did,
just soccer.
No, we both played rugby. I played rugby since I was 4, and then carried on and played all the way through and came over here and played rugby. Yeah, so played a lot of rugby, and that was my upbringing.
What position?
Sport. For rugby league, I played lock or centre.
Yeah, okay.
Believe it or not. Currently.
Boo rugby league.
Yeah,
really? I grew up playing rugby league, went to a semi-professional level.
Yeah.
The dream was to play NRL.
Yeah.
COVID hit, and I was just like, there's so much more to life than footy.
Yeah.
Like, you live in this bubble of, footy's your whole life.
Yeah.
And then once you step out of it, it's like, shit, there's a whole world out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, to be
I don't
fair,
know. I kind of want to get back into my bubble of rugby league.
the rugby union in England is obviously huge.
Yeah.
But no, I've actually before I didn't really like rugby league, but now actually watching the sport and being surrounded by people that love it, it's actually pretty good sport.
Yeah. So like that, my upbringing was playing sport and just being involved in sport, and whether that was rugby league, rugby union, or anything else that was sort of taking part in. And I lived in a very small place, very quiet, sort of the Lake District in the northwest of England. It's tiny, but it's a big county, but the population's very small. There's a lot of farmland and a lot of that sort of thing. So there's not a lot of things for people to do. So sport is it. Like, that's all that people get into, and that's all they really have or work. Now, that's essentially my 6, 7, 8 days a week. Like, I was training, and that was all that there ever was to do. So when you leaving that situation and not having that, coming over here, you're obviously trying to work out that balance of that. So yeah, I played a little bit over here, and but nothing major over here. But I definitely want to get back into it after this.
Yeah, I've had the same feeling. I've had 3 years off now. I'm like, oh, do I put the boots back on? But like, some of those Islander boys, I'm like, I don't want to first.
Man, that's the fun bit. It's just when you wake up the next day and you feel like you've been hit by a train. That's it.
I know.
Yeah.
So growing up in like a small English town, was the goal to always like get out of there and pursue something bigger?
Yeah. So look, my folks aren't originally from Cumbria. Me and my middle sister my youngest sister were the only people who were born and bred there. But they're from Nottingham. And they moved up there. They've travelled and they lived in Hong Kong for 7 or 8 years. Then moved back and moved to Cumbria, and that's where my sort of I just wanted to explore and wanted to see everything. We were lucky enough to go on holidays and stuff like that, and I wanted to go and see more of different places, and I want to see the world. So my exploration, I suppose, trait has come out of just, my parents have sort of inbred that into me and said, we go and explore things and find new things. So I left Cumbria, I left home when I was 17 or 18, went to university, went to France for a little while, finished university, moved over to Ireland, then went travelling with my missus, now fiance, I guess, and then I ended up here. And like, I've always wanted to travel, I've always wanted to explore, and going off the beaten track seeing things that maybe not everyone's seen, or doing things that maybe not everyone has done. I suppose a bit of that, and it's a lot more common to do now, but just traveling South America and doing the treks and hikes and trails and all that sort of stuff over there, and trying to find things that are relatively untouched. That's what I love to do, and that's what I love to see.
Yeah.
And this is part of this journey that we're doing. You're getting to see an awful lot of places that a lot of Australians, let alone anybody else, haven't seen, or been involved in, or been a part of. And the best way to do that we've found out since we started this is being on a bike. You see so much more. I mean, the other week when we cycled up to Mudgee, I mean, you're riding along one of the main roads, cars are going hectic behind you, around you, whatever, or side of you, and there's goats just chilling along on the mountaintop, and it's like you wouldn't have seen that in the car. Like random stuff like that. That's what is nice about cycling.
Because you're more aware of your environment, what's happening.
Yeah, you have to be, otherwise you absolutely got no chance.
Yep.
It would be much easier in a car, though.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What, like you said, you've explored, you travelled. What were some of the life lessons you've learnt from all that? Because I'm a big believer by travelling, by exploring, that really helps you to, one, like find out who you are, your identity, and where your place is in this world. So what are some of the life lessons you've learnt from all that?
Well, that's a really good question. I think it just comes down to just being brave enough to do it, I think. And for me, like, that's never been an issue to be brave enough. It's just because I've wanted to go and see it. I want to go and find something that's, I want to go and spend a week in the jungle with nothing other than just a knife and a match or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just having that sort of want to go and do it. And as well, trying not to get too comfortable. That's one of my biggest fears, is just being comfortable. And at the end of the day, you're not doing anything when you're comfortable. You're just being.
Yeah, you're not growing.
Exactly. And that to me is something that I don't want to ever sort of let become part of my life. And also, again, finding out more about yourself is that I'm very goal driven. But I need to see what the goal is, and I need to know what the steps there are to get to that goal is. So for me, I needed to have something that needs to be, again, as I said before, it needs to be big enough that I care about it. And I care about it enough to want to carry it out. If it's not big enough, then I'm not going to invest into it.
Yeah.
That's what I found out in my whole traveling experience. And, again, traveling to South America and spending 8 months there, that was the goal, to do that and finding the steps to do that. It was big enough for me to invest into wanting to put my time and energy into working all the time and whatever, to save up to go and do that.
Yeah.
This is the next thing of that sort of, the next chapter of that, I guess.
I want to ask, so you're setting all these massive goals. In a way, are you doing that to prove something to someone or to something or to yourself?
Yeah, 100%. And I know that I actually heard somebody ask this about somebody else. I know it's very vague, but through listening to podcasts and stuff, and no one's ever asked me that question. But yeah, it is something to prove to myself, and I have no issue with that. I don't see why that would be an issue. You want to challenge yourself. I want to challenge myself all the time. And it's to prove that can I do this? Can I commit to the training schedule that we have? Can I commit to the everything else that has to come along with it? Whether that's nutrition, whether that's even time management in terms of trying to work and train and get your nutrition involved and everything else that comes. And then can you commit to doing 50 days of what is going to be a grueling, anywhere between 8 and 14 hour shifts on the bike? And that's what I'm trying to prove to myself, I guess. And I have absolutely no issues with that at all. Like, I don't see an issue with that for me personally.
Does that stem from something deeper, like commitment issues when you were younger?
To be honest, not something that I've thought about. I don't think so. I don't think I've never had commitment issues when I was younger. That was simply because I didn't have the option to have commitment issues.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my training, as I say, and I was training 8 times a week or 9 times or whatever, and it wasn't a choice of whether you, like, often, yourself when you're training, or everyone else when you're training, like, there's a lot of times you don't actually want to go to training. There's nothing, you want to just stay at home, you want to just sit in front of the telly, you want to do whatever. But my upbringing is from my parents, who said, well, no, you've got to go. You've already made that commitment to go. You've already you've paid your subs, or you've been selected as part of this team, or you've got to go. You've got to see that out. That's your commitment to this. So that was always embedded into me. So it wasn't really a commitment issue. I think it's just more of a case of I like to have a focus on something. And once I've got a focus on something and I can see how to get there, then that's it. And again, breaking it down to simple things. The bike is typical of this, is that people say, 285k on average a day, 50 days, that's so long, it's so far. But if you break that down, can you pedal a bike? Can you turn the crank once? Yes. If anybody in this room could, if I said to them, can you turn the crank of a bike? They'd say, yeah. Okay, fine. When you're in the pit of the pits and you don't want to move and everything's hurting, you can't be bothered, you don't want to be there, you've been on the bike for 15 hours, whatever it is, all you got to do is turn the crank. Like, that's it. And you're that bit closer.
Yeah, it's whenever you set a goal like that or any sort of goal, you just got to take that first step.
Yeah.
So many people get caught up in the end destination that they never actually start.
Yeah.
They're trying to plan it, they're trying to make it perfect. You just got to take that first step, build momentum, and just like the bike, one pedal after another, and you'll get the 14,251 kilometers, mate. That is crazy. When I seen that, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, a lot of people keep asking us about the final day as well.
Yeah.
But this project and this event is so big.
Mm.
I think we are going to be breaking it down into hours, days,
100%.
Weeks, and not even thinking about the end goal. So
yeah, as soon as you start thinking about the end goal, you've missed the rest. And also, the end. Like, for me personally, Jay's right. Some people said, "Oh, what's the end goal like?" I haven't even thought past the 8th of October.
You got to fucking start first.
Exactly right. So I haven't even thought past that. And also, what I've consciously tried to do over the past couple of weeks is consciously enjoy this, because this is an opportunity that we've made ourselves, but it's still an opportunity, and it's something that we're never ever going to have to be able to do again. This specific period in now and time, we get the opportunity to sit in front of you guys and do this podcast. This is unreal.
Yeah.
We've also got the opportunity to go and about to take on the biggest challenge that we're ever going to take on in our lives, potentially. And that is unbelievable, and we should be happy and proud about that internally, and not let it overwhelm us or daunt us that we're about to take something on like this. And that's the mentality that we're consciously trying to project, I think.
Yeah, you got to embrace it and just enjoy it, because as you said, you're probably not going to cycle around Australia unless you're fucking crazy. But and I love it because, in a way, you're creating a legacy. When you have kids down the track, if you have kids, they can look up to you and be like, fuck, my dad jumped out of their comfort zones. They cycled around Australia. They did this massive challenge. If they can do that, like, why can't I? It sets an example because you're leading from the front, man, and that is so important. And I love that before, when you were talking about jumping out of your comfort zone and traveling and exploring, that is probably the biggest lesson that I want to pass down to my daughter, because in a way that is something that I've regretted growing up, because when I was speaking to you before, Jay, being in my comfort zone, being shy, introverted, I never left the comfort zone. I always wanted to travel. I wanted to explore, but I was too scared to, right? Until, a few years back, when I was like, fuck it, I'm jumping out of my comfort zone, I'm doing all this stuff. And then a kid comes along, so it makes it harder to go travel and explore, and then COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But once the world fully opens up properly, definitely I'm getting out there, because as I said, it's the best way to truly find yourself and find your identity and find your purpose, because if we're stuck in the same town, the same country for our whole life, that's all we know.
yeah.
There's a whole fucking world out there.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place. And like, Jay, have you done a lot of traveling yourself, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, going back to the family thing, because my brother's so much older than me, it felt like they had built a life before me in a different city.
Yeah.
So I always felt like the outsider. So as soon as I passed my driving test, I started traveling around the UK, and that kind of evolved to Europe. And then, obviously before coming to Australia, I traveled around Asia for around 6.5 months, something like that. And that's kind of, touching base on what Ben was saying about South America. You learn the values of different things. You build your kind of own personality, being away from your family and your friends at the time. And you kind of evolve into a kind of a better human, I guess.
It also, it makes you grateful for the life that we do have, say in Australia or back home in England. You go to some of these countries and they got nothing.
Yeah, 100%.
You walk around the streets and it's like, wow, how do people live like this? But the thing is, they got the biggest smile on their face.
Yep.
They're happy, they're content with their life, they enjoy life. Yet we're here complaining about traffic and shit like that. Like, it really puts life into perspective when you go out there and travel. And I haven't done heaps of traveling, but the traveling that I have done has really opened my eyes, and it's like, fuck, I want to do a lot more of this.
I couldn't agree more with you for that. It's that is a huge perspective that I'd take away from that as well.
Yeah, I learned quickly when I landed in Vietnam from London, and I was wearing a big hoodie, jeans. I walked out of the airport and all these Vietnamese people looking at me, and it was so hot. And then within like 2 days, I realized I've got all this stuff with me and I don't really need it. And then, I did some homestays with some Vietnamese families, and they were so happy, but they had no money and stuff. It was just, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, because they're not focused on money. They're not focused on the external material
Material
things.
stuff like that.
They're focused on internally and how they feel. And that's a big thing I push when it comes to mental health, because as a society in the Western world, we're so focused on the materials, the new car, the new house, that extra room, the job promotion, all that bullshit, which to a degree, yes, is important. Money's important. It makes the world go around. But we're not focusing on the internals and the feelings that we want to feel every single day. And that's why people go down dark holes, because they're too busy focused on the external instead of the internal. It's a massive thing I push. Like, biggest thing I say is, all right, write down all the feelings that you want to feel on a day-to-day basis. Then write down all the things you can do to feel those certain feelings, and fucking schedule them into your week. Like, don't just get trapped in the rat race of working your 9-to-5 job, coming home, hating life, because if you hate your life at home, it transfers into business, transfers into training, and it's just a never-ending cycle that you can't escape. It's so hard to get out of. That is the biggest lesson. And I guess for you guys, do you focus a lot on the internal and how you're feeling, especially after traveling and having that new perspective on life?
Yeah, I mean, definitely during COVID as well. I think that kind of give probably both of us and the nation kind of a time to reflect. Traveling in Asia and then landing in Australia, I kind of had that still mentality from Asia, the values. And then I slipped back into the old mentality of, the money and chasing jobs and stuff like that. And then during COVID, when you've stripped of everything, lost jobs and stuff like that as well, we ended up changing our jobs and our roles. Kind of had a bit more time to reflect on, the value of actual life and happiness. And I feel like a lot of people did the same. I know a lot of people from the UK that actually moved back to the UK to be more with their families after, living in Australia and being away from them for so long. They've moved back to the UK. So I think the whole mentality's changed. Social media was getting crazy at the time before COVID. It seems to be creeping back now. I think that kind of spell there and Asia really gave me a chance to kind of look at like what's the value and stuff. Yeah.
And like talking on the last few years and what's been happening in the world, in a way, I believe it's a massive blessing, because it allowed people to take a step back from that 9-to-5, that rat race of life, and actually just be present. I remember when it first all happened, I was going out on my runs and I was actually seeing families out like playing and stuff, when usually they'll just be at work and they'll come home, barely spend any time with their kids. And I was like, this is awesome. This is bringing actual connection and family back together, which is so needed. And now after it, I'm seeing so many families, so many people actually move out of these busy cities, because you don't have to work in an office space like this anymore. You can work remotely in so many jobs. So you don't have to live here. You can actually create and live the life that you want to live. And for you guys, like, once you do the cycle, and what are your future endeavors for life? Like, do you want to live in Australia still, or you want to move somewhere else, or?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because I'm actually going through that stage of like trying to work out. I've just become an Australian citizen as well.
Oh, congrats, man!
So if the government are watching this, I do plan on staying in Australia. Yeah, I do plan.
And if you are watching, hi, I could really do a mine.
Yeah, you could do it for citizenship. I'm 34 years old now, so my parents are getting old. My brother's getting old. My family, I've been away from a long time. Probably at that stage in my life, with kids and marriage and stuff like that as well. So whether or not I want to stay here forever, I'm still not sure yet. Like, it's a beautiful country and I do absolutely love it here.
Yeah.
I think the work-life balance is far superior to the UK. the pay, just the lifestyle,
The fucking weather, man.
the weather. I mean, today's
Yeah,
today's a
questionable.
good day, but it has been raining for the last
Still
8
be
months.
better than England, though, would it?
No, it's 40
Oh,
degrees in
mate,
England.
back home, it's outstanding, man.
Yeah.
My folks just got off a plane yesterday and like, oh, it's very cold here.
Yeah.
Christ, man.
So warm in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I've left, it's become the hotter than Sydney. But,
Oh, wow.
but yeah, it's just, I guess it's
Just get through this cycle first and then see where life takes you.
yeah. Look, I've been saying this to everyone. Like I do want to continue cycling. I do want to potentially do some more challenges. Maybe not of this size, but I do want to try and do some personal challenges and hopefully continue in this whole mental health space as well, to try and like make a bit of a difference, maybe become a bit of an ambassador, or do some workshops and stuff like that, which we've kind of created already. Keep the Boomerang Loop name going.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, I don't really much. Right,
Mate, in terms of the future, Jesus, I just want to get married.
put some weight back on.
Yeah, put some weight back on. Yeah, I'm trying to dodge all the drains as I'm walking around in case I fall down them. But apart from that, man, just enjoy it. Just enjoy what life's got to bring. And as I said earlier, I haven't looked past the sort of 8th of October, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah.
This is again, not to keep banging on about it, but this is pretty huge. And I just want to sort of concentrate and absorb this. As I say, getting married, I just got recently engaged, and it's something that I'm over the moon with and can't wait to start planning. But that's on pause until I can just I've got this done.
So you're in the doghouse until after the cycle?
Oh no, she's very understanding. She's very good. She's she's good. Hence why we're getting engaged. Well, we got engaged. She's a keeper, so
That's
it's
good.
so no, she's very understanding of it all. But yeah, man, and she understands that this is. I mean, it's quite sort of self-explanatory. It's quite a big thing to be taking on.
Our entire lives have been on pause, to be fair.
Yeah, for the past
2
16,
years.
17 months, whatever.
Yeah,
it's
like
been,
like anything normal. Going out for drinks with friends and all that. Like we've put everything on pause. We haven't been able to go to the events that we would like to be and hang out with everyone because we've been training so much. Because trying to do 10 to 20 hours a week training and stuff like that, plus the social media side, trying to reach out for sponsors, trying to get the money for
everything you could think of, and then also in that, as we've just discussed, trying to take on a new job and then succeed in that new job and in that new space and make a good impression as you want to do when you first, and then putting in the hours for that because it's a demanding job or whatever, and then also finish work, train, get home, try and eat as much as you possibly can because you've lost about 6,000 calories. Sleep, your 8-9 hours, whatever it is, your hours quickly go, and there's only 24 hours in the day, and they quickly go. So there's not a lot of time for anything else, and that has been affected. Our partners have been affected by that, and have been great through that. They've been very kind enough to stick with us through it.
It's actually really, like, as we're saying that, looking back at last year, we went from training in the gym, and we went to first got our bikes. Then I had a bit of a cancer scare, which was a bit of that was a weird one. Then we lost our jobs. Then we got new jobs. Then obviously through Christmas, and then
got COVID. COVID, that was good. That was outstanding.
All that time we were trying to get sponsors. We were trying to get the money that we needed for everything. Just trying to. I don't actually know how we got through that.
It's been this is why this is great, because we don't often have the time to sit down and spend talking even to each other about this sort of stuff, because it's been so full on for the past however many months, and to actually have the opportunity to sit down and talk about it, we're 6 days away now, 5 days away, sorry, before we set off on something that is life changing potentially, or has been, and it's nice to just reflect on that as well, which has been. Yeah, it's good to sort of see, where we're looking at.
Yeah, people underestimate how much goes into an event like this. Like, I've spoken to other people that have run across Australia, some WA to Sydney, and there's so much planning, so much that goes into it. Like, do you guys have a team, or is it just used to it?
for the whole time up until yesterday. It's been the two of us who've done everything. Absolutely everything.
We're nutritionists. We're
trainers,
trainers, marketing team. With like
logistics team.
So plenty of YouTube videos on learning how to do all this stuff, or
and just learning on the go as well.
Yeah, and just trying to do the best as you can. Get advice, listen to the advice. If it's valuable to you, use it. If it's not, it's been great to have the conversation anyway.
Yeah.
And just sort of try and muddle our way through it. And you know what? We'll only find out if we've done it right or wrong come the 7th of October.
Yeah. So our book will be coming out on the 10th of October.
The thing is, by doing it by yourself, you get to learn so much. You're going to get so many lessons from the whole planning aspect and the whole ride. And then if you go to do another challenge after this, you can identify where you went wrong and then fix it. There's so many lessons that you're going to be learning from this experience. And I think it's really awesome that you guys are doing it by yourself, even though it is hard and there's a lot of long hours. I'm a big believer that the best way to learn is just by fucking chucking yourself in there and doing it yourself.
Yeah, so many people keep asking us if we're ready as well, but it's a hard event to get ready for because there's no one that's really done this. I mean,
and how are you going to feel when you're ready? Like
exactly.
What's oh yeah, tick that box. I mean, that's it. Space. Like I don't know. Like I'll be able to tell you again. Was I ready? I'll tell you on the 7th of October if I was ready to start and go mentally. Yeah, I'm ready to go, man. I could go tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I know that we would be fine. It's just waiting for that day to come.
Yeah.
You don't know how you're going to wake up that morning either.
Exactly.
You don't know what the body's going to do, the mind's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, we I can't remember his name, from Melbourne. He's done a couple of like cycles across Africa and things like that. And I think one of his first days, he got food poisoning.
Oh shit!
And also been listening to Mark Beaumont's kind of podcast, and one of his team ended up getting the head of his team got sick within the first couple of days. So anything can happen while we're on the road. COVID's still kind of floating around. So, and it's 50 days. So it's kind of anything can happen over those kind of 6 weeks. So, yeah.
Why the 50 days? Why not longer? Why not shorter? Why 50?
Because we're stupid.
Yeah, I thought so.
The maths works out very, very good. No, it's because this is honest truth. When I looked at this and doing this as a challenge, I looked at the world record to see what the world record was. I think the world record is something like 38 days. I said, and at the time it was 38 days, a couple of hours. I said, well, neither one of us own bikes. Neither one of us have sat on a bike for a long time. We'll add a bit of fat on. Let's round it up to 50. 50 days. That's it. That's literally how it came to 50 days.
Sweet.
So that it was 50 days.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, it's just like we're going back to what we were saying before. It's just going to be breaking it into small chunks.
100%.
Ben's been on top of the logistics. We've kind of.
Oh, so you guys are going to get fucked up for sure.
Yeah. No, we've picked like the kind of best route. We've got I've been looking at the accommodation. We've tried to get the best stops for accommodation so that we can get the right rest and stuff we need. Pick the right route so that we the elevation and stuff like that's kind of achievable, and yeah, just trying to just break down each day into a couple of hour chunks, and then each week, and then we'll just see where we get on. Yeah.
So for me, when we go out on bigger rides, like I'm again similar to the whole goal setting thing. Set the goal, work out how to get there. Yeah. For me, when we go out on the bigger rides, I try and break it down into 4-hour blocks, and that's the way we sort of working it. And that the goal is hit the destination of that 4-hour block. So I would essentially set out a location that's roughly 100k away, give or take, and say, okay, get there. That's all you got to concentrate on. And that's all I would concentrate on. Just get to the destination A. Then you start again as the next block, and that's just how I break it down, and that's just how you end up getting to certain places. Whether you stop along the way to that A is fine. Like as long as you're getting to that, you get to A. Don't think about anything else. That's it. And then, okay, where's the next destination A? And then before you know it, you've finished your day, and you're like, okay, well, I feel good. Go sleep. Oh, okay, start again.
Yeah, it brings, for me personally, it brings so much anxiety if you're just focusing on the end goal.
The fact that you're anxious about us.
No, I was actually just about to say that, like with that, I get a little bit worried about putting too much focus on that 4-hour chunk.
Yeah.
But
but again, like that that gets broken down into each hour, or like, for example, on my computer, on my bike computer, it'll tell me X amount of K to the next turn.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. Just focus on where am I going for the next till the next turn, and as I say, bring it back to it. Can you turn the crank?
That's it. Yeah, because I do a lot of endurance running as well.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And a few weeks back, I did a 25-kilometer race by 1,000 meters elevation. It was fucking crazy. Some of those hills, I was like, is this ever going to end?
Fair play, man.
Australia's supposed to be flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, it's not. But for me, I just broke it down. I was like, especially on those hills, they had ribbons at like every 20 meters or 50 meters or whatever.
Yep.
And on those hills, you're on like all fours. I'm like, all right, this ribbon, then that tree. And you break it down like that. And yeah, it did take me 5 hours. But once you break it down, it's sweet. It's all good. And once you cross the finish line, it's like, holy fuck, bro.
Yeah.
You achieve something.
Yeah, that's unreal, man. That sounds class.
And the thing I love about doing these big challenges is, one, yes, it builds resilience, and I'm sure you guys are going to build a shit ton of resilience on this trip. But once you finish, you're going to be like, wow, if I can achieve this, what else can I achieve? Whether that be a next big challenge or in your workplace or family life, it's like, just by setting up that platform, it's like, wow, the sky's the limit, man.
How do you apply it into your next thing? That's cool. That's awesome.
It's fucking awesome. And I wanted to ask, so you got charities on board. Is it Mindful Aus that you've brought on board?
Mindful Aus, yeah.
Yeah. How did you just get that connection? Because I've had Matty Runnels on the podcast before. He's an epic bloke. How did you guys get connected with him?
Yeah, so that was actually, we had the conversation. We were looking for, we knew it was going to be a mental health charity that we wanted to be on board. We wanted to be at the front and face of we wanted to be involved in the charity. You know, we wanted to be really involved in what it was that we're doing. And also we had many a conversation about, it took us a while to decide which charity we were going to go for. And I think that was really good. I think it was good that we actually took the time to investigate into what charity each charity
you're not just choosing any random
Correct,
one.
yeah. You know, it would have been easy to go to like, you know, one of the bigger charities, right? Because they're the ones that are all shouting, singing, dancing at you. You know, they're all the ones in your face. The reason why Mindful Aus came about is because the way that they target mental health sort of sector and area is that they go to the sort of the younger generation, the preteens, and they target that and try and educate that population, which is trying to reduce the problem in later life. I mean, a lot of the charities that we were looking at initially were sort of at the coalface of mental health and, you know, on that sort of edge. Whereas these guys are looking at trying to prevent that even getting to the case and helping out each other, which I thought was great. But
yeah, educating children from a young age, what to look out for within their friends, but also, you know, parents and stuff like that. So giving them the tools, what they need very, very early, which is kind of what I would have liked as a kid growing up as well, being a bit more educated about mental health and knowing what's going on with myself. And also when I've reached out to, for instance, my mum when I was a child, saying that I was feeling depressed, there wasn't really that much information online and in the world about mental health, and I think my mum kind of brushed me aside at the time. But maybe, you know, with someone like Mindful Aus in the kind of background, she would have been more educated, and I would have been more educated with what's going on with my own mental health. So yeah, that's definitely a reason why we're teaming up with Mindful Aus to do a lot of great things within the community for children and also for adults as well.
Yeah, that's what I love about what Matt does in Mindful Aus, because it is preventative and it connects so much to what I'm doing in the podcast. And as I mentioned to you before, Jay, like, awareness is great.
Yep.
But the way we actually truly make change is by being preventive, by taking action and getting to this next generation, these younger generations, and giving them the tools so then when obstacles may arise in their life, they're able to better deal with them, or they're better being able to express their feelings, express their emotions, and not feel like, oh, I've got to bottle it all up. Like, you know, that old mindset of bottle it all up, suck it all up, you're all good, move forward. Society doesn't have to be like that no more. We can talk, we can open up, we can be vulnerable. And I'm a big believer in vulnerability breeds vulnerability. It's like, just by us here today talking, someone's going to listen to this and be like, okay, if these three blokes can sit here and talk about mental health, why can't I?
Yeah, we've definitely put ourselves in some vulnerable situations. Like, for instance, we set up the bikes in the middle of a street festival in Piermont, Surrey Hills, wherever it may be,
Yeah.
dressed in lycra while people are going about the day enjoying food, festivals and
Drinks.
music.
I noticed drinks, a lot of drinks.
a lot of alcohol. We've set ourselves up, stationary bikes with the sign. We've been riding for a couple of hours and many people have walked up to us and asked us what we're doing. And we've told them what we're doing, cycling around Australia to raise awareness for mental health. And that's kind of sparked the conversation and kind of, we've learned a lot more about, the general public and what they've been suffering from, and people have donated and people have shared stories. And it's kind of been beautiful to go through that experience over the last
100%.
18 months.
It's weird because even when we sort of said that this is what we're doing and this is what we're doing it for, I was sat with a group of lads, maybe 9 of us, sat at the pub, and as soon as I said what I was doing to the rest of them, they were like, Jesus, and within 5 minutes, every single person had a different story about a different mental health issue, or somebody that one of their friends had an issue, or every single one of them did, and they all had a story and could relate to it in some way or some. Yet I knew a few of them on that table pretty well. I would never have known any of that unless it wasn't for that sort of, okay, this is what we're doing and we're doing it for mental health. So it's pretty incredible.
Just by you starting that conversation, it's had an impact. It's had a difference on not only yourselves, but your friendships, your relationships, and it's awesome to see when you're doing the cycle per se. Do you have any plans to stop in towns and do talks or workshops or anything like that, or you just focus on the cycle itself?
Yeah, look, if because it's taking up so much of the day, we're going to be on the bike from anything from 10 to 14 hours a day. It's going to be difficult for us to stop and physically do talks, but I'm hoping that definitely around the campsites that we're going to be staying at in different towns, we can kind of do kind of more talks and create a bit more of a safe space for people to talk about mental health along those ways. But we're going to have the vans with the QR codes so people can scan and find out a little bit more about what we're doing and the charity as well while we're on the road. Hopefully, if we get time, we can jump into kind of the rural areas and hand out some flyers and maybe do a little bit of a talk. But we haven't got anything like planned yet, just because of the schedule of the day.
We're also trying to sort of speak to a few radio stations out there as well, see if we can get in touch with them and just sort of try and promote what it is that we're doing to then allow us to then speak to communities and get the sort of message out there about sort of mental health and that sort of thing. So that's what we're trying to sort of target as well.
Yeah. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of incredible people come up to you and open up and see what you're all about, because I remember doing a podcast, I'm not sure if you know who he is, the Barefoot Dutchman. He walked from...
I recognise that.
Yeah,
I think I do.
He walked from Queensland to Sydney,
Mm-hmm.
and I had him on the podcast and he was speaking about all the people that came up to him and the awesome deep conversations that he was able to have just by starting that conversation, or just by walking and them coming up and asking, what are you doing? Why are you doing this for? And he goes, for mental health. And then boom, that just opens an avenue for them to express how they feel and share stories as well. So I'm keen to run it back after and hear all the amazing stories that you guys have heard along the way. I want to ask, how do you prepare for something like this? And when shit gets tough out there, do you have anything prepared, any playlist to get you through, like David Goggins on replay or some shit?
We in terms of preparing, I'm not sure that you can prepare for what it is that you end up going through. I know there was a few times that we've both been through a bit of the mire. And fortunately, at those periods of time, one of us was quite sort of high, and the other one was a bit of a low. So we managed to drag each other through that way, and that worked out really well. But through the low periods, again, you've got to keep telling yourself that it's not going to last. You will be back to the top of that wave at some point. You just got to ride it through and keep going, and you will get back to there. It sounds pretty simple and stupid, but I find eating helps.
Okay.
Eating really does help.
What's your choice of food?
Anything, whether it's
baby food.
Yeah, baby food is a brilliant go-to for me.
I've got plenty of that, bro.
Yeah. Just pots and pots. Right? No, so baby food is a good go-to, and just honestly eat. I honestly find that if I'm struggling, I eat, because for me, I think about things quite sort of not logically, but matter of factly. If I'm struggling, it must mean I've not got enough fuel in me. Yeah. Okay. Therefore, I need to eat. That's generally how I go about things like that.
Yeah, look, we've never had a coach. Again, we've said we're doing this all ourselves. But what we have done is we've reached out to a few professionals in the endurance space, whether that's running, cycling, triathlons, and they've all said, we've all asked, what is your reason why? when you're on the road, all you're going to have is food,
Mm-hmm.
but also your reason why, like why are you doing this? Because that's, we're going to just be left out on our own. Although we're cycling together, we are going to be extremely isolated, and you have to think to yourself, what is your reason why? And I've actually, I was filming some stuff for my own YouTube earlier on, and I was filming and was thinking to myself, like, what is my reason why? And I guess my reason why is everything I've done up to this point over the last 34 years, whether that's running, cycling, swimming, whatever it may be, has had a purpose leading up to this point. So every footstep, every kind of stroke has led to this point. Every loss over the years, I've lost friends through suicide, car crashes, cancer, whatever it may be over the years, has led to this point. And also raising money for this charity is, another reason why. So all that collectively building up is the reason why we're doing this, and that's hopefully going to get us over the line as well, when we're like feeling the pain and we're just thinking, why are we doing it? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to my body? You know?
Yeah. Because we are going to be in that. We're going to be in that a lot. And that's something that we've accepted quite early on, that this is going to be tough.
The Hurt Locker.
Yeah, and it's easy to say that right now because we're sat in a nice, comfy place. We've got nice, comfy clothes on. It's warm. It's not but when it's horrendous, and it's really horrendous, and it's cold, and we don't want to be on a bike. This is 26 days in, whatever it is. Yeah, you've got to rely on what are we doing it for, and it's that exact reason. Everything that we've just been talking about.
Do you have a deeper why though? You mentioned pushing yourself, improving something to yourself, but is there something deeper within you?
For me, it's my reason why is slightly different to Jay's. Jay has been unfortunate enough to have those immediate friends who have taken their own life. For me, mine is a little bit more, slightly less connected. I've seen the impact of someone taking their own life. My very close friends have had people who they've been close with taken their own life, and to see the fallout that has and the impact that has on people such as Jay or other friends that I've got, and how that affects them, that's my reason why, is to helping the people who have to deal with the fallout of that ultimate choice. Because, and I heard something the other day, is that taking of your life isn't necessarily getting rid of the pain, it's just passing it on. And that is really evident, and you see that in people once that unfortunate choice has been made.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because it doesn't get rid of the pain, transfers it to everyone around you. And I seen a study, and don't quote me on this, but when someone takes their own life, on average it affects 180 people.
Yeah, right.
So like, you've seen your friends take their life and stuff. It affects you because now your friends are upset.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like, it affects everyone within that circle, and it's a sticky situation when it comes to suicide. And is it selfish? Is it not selfish? And it's really hard, because when someone's in that mindset, they're not thinking about that. They're just like, I want out. The only way to get rid of this pain that they believe is to take their own life. And sadly, I'm not sure if you've seen the news, but a former NRL coach, Paul Green, took his life earlier this week. And it's like, from the outside, he looked like he was happy. He was still involved in the game, in the Queensland team. I was just like, how could that happen to someone? He left a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids, and then the whole community. It's really sad to think that every day people are at that low point where they feel the only way out is to take their own life. And this is just the people that are spoken about. What about the many others that aren't spoken about? And on average, it's like 7 to 8 people a day take their own life in Australia.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, one of those friends that took their own life. She was a pretty big celebrity in the UK. Everything kind of looked great on paper, but she had her own demons, and she suffered some abuse through social media. And then she got to the point where she kind of took her own life. But I tried to look at the take positives from everything. It probably stems from my parents. So those losses are now kind of changing into hopefully educating people and giving people a safe environment to talk about mental health. So although I've had to lose people to get to this point, I'm hopefully something positive is going to come out of it from what we're doing right now. and everything we're doing leading up to the event. You know, it's not just about going on the road. We've made a kind of a big statement and a big kind of that we're gonna make a big difference rather than just saying that we're raising awareness for mental health. We're actually gonna try and actually do something.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people kind of say, "Oh, we're raising awareness for mental health," but don't actually act upon it. So we're trying to be active within the community. We're trying to get people talking about it. You know, I'm trying to get people to talk with my colleagues at work. You know, we're all big men. We're all, you know, we don't want to talk about our emotions, but yeah, just trying to like open up and actually, yeah, okay, if you're not feeling okay, you can talk about it. So yeah.
I love that because I'm a big believer actions speak louder than words. And especially when it comes to the whole mental health thing, like, Are You Okay Day? It happens every year. It's an amazing day. But I see it year after year. People come out of the woodworks, they post their social media posts, Are you okay? And then you don't hear from them again. It's like, do you actually care? Do you actually reach out to your circle of people and ask if they're actually okay, see how they're doing? Or do you just put that post to feel like you've played your part? And that's what I don't like about it. And as I said, awareness is awesome, but we really need to do the action thing. And that's what I love about you guys. You guys are spreading awareness, but you're also taking action as well. And I love your mindset that you've been able to change a negative situation of losing friends to now a positive, okay, how can I make a change? How can I have an impact in this world? And coming back to, you know, Mindful Aus and what Matt Reynolds does, you know, he lost 7 or 8 friends to suicide. And now he started this amazing charity doing amazing work in the community. And it's sad, but sometimes it may take something like that for someone to, you know, go down the path of actually having an impact in this world. But as long as we have that impact and we prevent stuff from this happening again, I think it's so important. So yeah, I really love what you guys do, and it just goes to show that everyday people can do big challenges. You don't have to be this professional athlete or something like that to cycle around Australia or do whatever you choose to do. You just got to start. You just got to put yourself out there. And it's so inspirational to be able to sit here today and talk to you guys. And I'm so excited to, you know, follow the journey, follow the 50 days and see how you guys go and run it back when we come back and hear all the stories and all the lessons that you've learned. So yeah, it's been awesome chatting to you guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
I wanted to ask, so where can the people find you? Where can they support you, donate, all that stuff?
Yeah, so the best way is to head to our website, boomerangloopau.com.au, and there's a donate button. There's a backstory of what we've done. There's our film, and that takes you through to the donation page. Any kind of donation is greatly appreciated. Any share, and also Instagram's probably like one of the places where we're going to be posting a lot while we're on the road, videos of us in pain and all sorts. And that's Boomerang Loop AU as well.
Cool. How much money have you guys raised so far?
So I think we've raised about
should be around 10 grand.
Yeah,
Shit.
10 grand.
But we've, you know, we've only really just started on that journey, and we're really starting to now push that. And that 10 grand, that initial 10 grand, is actually incredible considering the sort of reaction that we've sort of had. It's so, you know, the overall goal is 100 grand. We want to try and hit that, and we're trying, you know, hard to hit that. We're cycling around Australia to hit that. So yeah, man, it's a big goal, but it's got to be relevant to the size of task that we're undertaking, and we want to, as Jay says, we want to make a difference, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And I'm just going to chuck this in now. Like, I have my own clothing for the podcast, so like anyone who purchases anything, $5 is going to go towards the charity.
Oh, thank you.
That's right.
Because I support Mindful Aus, I support everything that you guys do. So anyone that purchases an item, $5 from every product will go to you guys.
Cheers. Awesome. That's very nice of you, man.
We have a closing tradition on the podcast where the previous guests ask the next guest a question, right? So the question is, what is one thing you would never change in yourself?
Can I ask you who the question was from?
No.
Okay.
What would I never change?
Yeah, what would you never change about yourself? Like, what is the core of you that you would like, I would never change that?
Ambition.
Yeah.
I hope that I never lose being ambitious, setting my goals high, and pushing myself to all limits. When I have kids or married or whatever, I'm hoping that doesn't, go away. But I'm always going to be ambitious. I always want to push myself to the next level. So
yeah, I hate to be boring, but that's exactly what I wouldn't change about myself.
Just
ambitious,
copied it,
man. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's it.
Me.
I couldn't think of anything else. No, you're dead right. Ambition, and that's possibly like why we're both in this situation now, because we're both very ambitious about what it is that we want to succeed at. So that would relate very well across. So yeah.
Awesome. Legends. Jay, thank
you,
you,
mate.
brother.
Thank
Ben,
you.
Thanks ever so much, man.
thank
That
you
was great,
for
buddy.
inviting me to your office to this beautiful podcast. It was awesome chatting. For all the listeners, follow what these guys are doing. They're doing amazing work. And yeah, I can't wait to run it back with you guys after. Follow the journey. If you got some value out of today, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Take a screenshot of this podcast. Tag myself, tag the Boomerang boys. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Legends.